All right, let's go ahead and flip on over to the NBA as the saga of the Houston Rockets accelerates to new heights. Last week, news broke of a huge trade as the Rockets shipped Russell Westbrook out of town, sending him to Washington for John Wall and a protected first-round pick. It seems like Houston's ready to commit to a rebuild since, and James Harden has been requesting a trade and even now delaying his appearance at Rockets training camp. Now, as of today, on Tuesday, Harden has begun COVID protocols to join the team, but does remain publicly adamant about a trade to Philadelphia or Brooklyn. Head coach Steven Silas wants to forge a new relationship and system with Harden, and for now, the Rockets don't appear to be in a hurry to trade to this Reynolds star. So, Drink, with Westbrook out and Wall and Cousins in, should the Rockets tell Harden to kick rocks, or do they need to blow this up?
First and foremost, let's talk about this COVID protocol that Harden is doing. He started today. Because his protocol must be in the same spot where Lemon Pepper Lou was, because it looks like the same place. I'm just saying, it looks very similar, could be different. Dark place, hot wings, and half-naked women. That's neither here nor there. How can the Rockets tell Harden to kick rocks when he already telling the Rockets to kick rocks? I mean,
he's on a contract.
And listen, and they didn't say, "Hey, James, you need to get to practice." Yeah, all right. Hey, what are y'all using these? That's what he in the club doing. He in here.
Well,
bringing some more ones out the back.
Fines haven't started yet. That's the ticket there.
That's cool. You pay him so much money. What? Mark my words. He's gonna take a couple of. He don't want to be there no more. Like, long story short, he does not want to be in Houston no more. Yo, he woke up one morning and was like, "Damn, man, I gotta play with Westbrook again." Then you trade him for John Wall. He like, golly, you keep bringing me these hurt point guards. Like, this dude can't stay healthy. That dude can't stay healthy. Cut me a break here. You know what? And then you don't have the ultimate negotiator there. Daryl Morey has left the building, folks. You used to have a negotiator there that can bring in James Harden and say, "Come on, James. I hear you. Just give me a year. We might make this work." He was able to negotiate with him with Chris Paul and James Harden. I mean, Chris Paul and Westbrook and Dwight Howard. You don't have him there no more. So he's like, I don't want to play with this dude. Oh, I'm going to say the wrong thing. I don't want to play with this cat that's always hurt. Like, what are we doing here? Just send me to a contender. I'm about sick of this. Clearly, we're not going to be a contender no more. That's out of the window. Because if we was going to be a contender, we would get a dude that can play more than 15 games a year. Instead, we get this dude that's about as good as the Summer League. He's a quick 10, and we out of here. That's what John Wall season has come to in the last 2 or 3 years. The Summer League slate, and then I'm hurt, still pay me. So, look, James Harden don't want nothing to do with that. And I don't blame him. Because for all the slack we give James Harden, he's usually a pretty available guy. He does tail off in the playoffs. He does get a little lackluster. But when you speaking from can he play, is he available standpoint, James Harden one of those guys for his usage, he's pretty much available for the most part. And you can't get him some guy. You can't depend on John Wall. They haven't depended on John Wall since Kentucky. You can't depend on John Wall. What are we talking about? What are we talking about? John Calipari was the last person that got a full season out of John Wall. Like, what are we talking about over here? And then you gonna just
played full season.
I don't care. He ain't done nothing with those full seasons, and then he be hurt all the time. No, if I'm James Harden, I'm like, no, I refuse. Trade me. Now, here's the problem. James Harden, you listening? The problem is you're James Harden. So the Rockets going to ask for a lot to get you out of there. And, these teams might not be so willing to give you a lot because they don't know if you're going to re-sign with them, if you're going to book. So that's the problem. You're too good for them just to let you go, but you're not good enough where teams are, like, willing to pull the Kawhi Leonard package and just say, you know what, whatever, we'll do the 1 year rental or whatever, a 2 year, 3 year, however we got left, we'll do the rental
3 years.
And then see what, 3 years? All right, so we'll do the rental. You got 3 years. I don't understand the problem then. I'm hearing all these people complain about they can't trust if he'll resign. You get 3 years.
Yep.
What are we talking about here? Anyway, the fact of the matter is this, not to hold it on, is the Rockets can't tell him to kick rocks. But look at the two dudes that they brought in, Wall and Cousins. What do they have in common? They both played at Kentucky. What else do they have in common? They both was hurt a lot. They both was hurt in the last 2 seasons. Oh, by the way, neither one of them played many games in the last 2 seasons. And I'm supposed to ride out with these two? That's supposed to be my dynamic duo? No, I'm sorry. These dudes don't drink enough milk for me. So it's nothing I'm going to be rolling out with these cats. So I'm with James Harden. I don't like the way he's handling himself, being in the club, not reporting to the club, not reporting to the organization. Sorry. Being in the club, not reporting to the organization. It's no way I think he's doing a COVID protocol. I'm a little hard for me to believe that now.
That came out like this afternoon. Like he is starting to rejoin the team, but he's got to go a couple days of all that. That's what I meant.
So it's just I'm with James. I'm on James Harden's side on this. It's like, what did you give me? I could have killed Westbrook for that. Like, honestly, I could have killed Westbrook because at least I know he's gonna give me 110 every game. He might be deteriorating as a star, but I know I'm getting something. You can't give me these two dudes that's coming in here with crutches. They literally probably was at the press conference with crutches behind the little joint. Like, no, you can't do it. I'm not satisfied with this. And I don't think he should be satisfied. Did the Rockets get better with these 2 moves? Can you honestly tell me the Rockets got better with these 2 moves?
Not better, but they did get – I mean, they got a couple first – I mean, Marcus Cousins wasn't a big sign. They did trade Robert Covington, and they got a first-round pick for Russell Westbrook, which to me that's fairly impressive to get a first-round pick for that contract. Even if you took another contract back, you got something, instead of having to give up something to get rid of him.
If Harden was, 7 years younger, I would be like, all right, let's do this. But he's getting older. He's starting. You can see the wheels turning in his head. Now it's going from personal accolades to, ring. Legacy. Listen, the man that did everything you do pretty much as far as personal accolades from an offensive standpoint. Now, what he needs is that ring. I mean, he's still probably a Hall of Famer regardless, but you get that ring, join that ring club so they don't make fun of you. And you can go around with the guys and say, I did it just like you all did, whatever. That's how I look at it. But to answer your question, yes, blow this thing up. You can't go out here and no more handicap signs. No, I don't. What are we doing here? No, you blow this thing up, start over, see what you can get for James Harden. And then, there go your duo.
I'm surprised there wasn't a finishing touch on that John Wall full season at Kentucky. I'm surprised.
Yeah, I try to keep it clean. I was about to, get a little. So I had to keep it pushing before I said the wrong thing.
I don't think I meant that. The only thing I was going to say, I thought you was going to tell us the only reason John Wall played a full season in Kentucky is because they only played like 35 games. But it's not even an NBA workload. So, but no. Listen, I think from the moment you heard, the rumors circulating, after Daryl Morey was gone and Mike D'Antoni was gone, and then the Robert Covington trade, I think it told me a lot. Because when you trade probably your best supporting cast guy, I think after Westbrook and Harden, Covington was their best piece. I think that told me a lot. And of course, Russell Westbrook's gone. I think it only makes sense, especially given what we think James Harden thinks about the Rockets, which I don't think we believe he really wants to be there. The Rockets, I mean, it's kind of like I don't know if it's a rebuild yet, but it seems like at minimum a retool. When you make these type, new general manager, new coach, new second best player, if we can get him on the court, and he doesn't trip and fall in the bathtub, or whatever things happen to John Wall. But it does seem to be a little bit of fool's gold to bring in John Wall, bring in DeMarcus Cousins, and we're not sure what else they're going to do, but it just doesn't seem like it will work. You know, I brought up the point last week. You know, John Wall is a prototypical point guard. You know, for him to be effective, if he can still, you know, play at any semblance of what he used to be, he's going to need the ball. And I think, you know, that directly contradicts with what James Harden likes to do and how they've utilized him. I'm not sure if that's something, you know, Stephen Silas really wants to get into. And you will notice, and we've seen this. This is not uncommon. We all know the NBA is a players' league. When you get players that, you know, they're unhappy for whatever reason, especially the superstar caliber players, they ultimately get their way in some degree. And I think if James Harden really wants out, I think the Rockets, it would be in their best interest to go and get him out of there. I mean, this is, you know, you go ahead and you try the same thing, pretty much the same thing, and we've seen different variations with it. And I think Daryl Morey did as good a job as he could have. But eventually, you got to say, you know what, we've tried this for so long. You know, we gotta try something different. And I think with what they've been able to do, you know, you get a first for Covington, you get a first for Russell Westbrook, plus John Wall. And I think if John Wall can play, and I'll repeat what I said last week, I think if John Wall comes back and he can play, well, you just move off him as well. Maybe you can sell him to a contending team that needs some point guard help, and you just continue to stockpile assets and you try to rebuild that way. But I think one of the issues for James Harden is it's when you have such a narrow, you know, list of destinations that you like to go to, you know, it's going to be tough because you got to think about that team that you're looking to go to. I think it was pretty apparent very quickly that unless the Nets were interested in, you know, departing from Kyrie Irving, I don't think that made a whole lot of sense. You know, I don't think you can. I think it's going to be tough for, you know, three guys that, you know, especially Harden and Kyrie. You know, both those guys need the ball. You know, of course, KD can play off the ball, and he's got the, you know, that unselfish demeanor, you know, from his years with the Warriors and even playing alongside Westbrook. He can do that. But then you look at Harden and Kyrie, that just seemed to be a little too much. And then, of course, Philly seems like a nice destination up front. But, you know, we already got Daryl Morey, the new Sixers general manager. You know, he's already on record saying that he doesn't have any intention of breaking up, you know, the all-encompassing potential great duo of Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons. So, you know, if Philadelphia isn't willing to give up one of those guys, you know, how are you even going to get a deal done, given what Houston is looking for? And I think Houston should be looking for, you know, an extravagant haul. I think James Harden is worth that. But then you continue to, you know, go along with the list of contenders that you would size up. You know, a lot of those teams are contenders because they're already really good. And, you know, when you bring in a guy like James Harden, it's going to be a significant shakeup, regardless of how good or how much he can improve you. So given all that, I think the Rockets are kind of in an unenviable situation of, you know, having a star player that's unhappy. And they, you know, I think it would be in both parties' best interest to move him. But they could get caught in a tough spot to where maybe if they really want him gone, maybe they'll have to take less than what they think he's actually worth.
Yeah, the thing here really is we talked about before. James Harden is still under contract again for 3 years, and there's no trade clause or anything like that. Like the Rockets have full control over his future dealings and whatnot. I think the organization does still want to make this work. I think that the new head coach, the new GM, they really want to keep Harden there. I don't think the Rockets want to become a complete non-contender, but at the same time, again, like James Harden realizes they don't have enough here. You guys just laid it out. There's not enough here. If DeMarcus Cousins and John Wall return to peak form, there could be something here, but I mean, the chances of that happening, I mean, my God, it's slim to none, slim left town. So they could both come back and be good players. I'm not saying they couldn't be good players, but they're probably not going to be the John Wall, the DeMarcus Cousins that we all know from yesteryear. I think the bigger problem, though, is, again, when you're talking about trade partners, Jay, you just kind of laid it out. The Nets really don't have a way to get him because, again, the Rockets are going to want an all NBA or a player that definitely projects on that track to be, that kind of player, and first-round picks for him. You can ask whatever you want. It's James Harden. the teams, like you said, Philly and then Brooklyn, they don't have the assets. And if I'm the Rockets, I am not hamstrung into trading you to the two teams you've given me that just aren't good suitors. Like, no, man, that's not how this works. Oh, you really want to be traded? Like, you're really gonna show your ass, and you're really gonna make this force our hand? All right, hey, New Orleans, let's make a deal here. Hey, you got a pile of first round picks. Hey, what about Brandon Ingram? Weren't 2 first round picks? Maybe we send something on the back end, maybe something like that. I don't know. I mean, the only contender that really comes to mind, I mean, the Clippers could be a contender. I think that if they want to break, if this Kawhi Paul George thing, which we know behind the scenes there was all sorts of riffraff and friction and issues and chemistry, if they want to break that up, maybe you Lou Williams and Paul George, and maybe you work something. Again, I'm spitballing contenders that could even be in the realm to trade for him, because the teams that are bad have the assets to trade for you, and the teams are good don't. So that's really what it comes down to, is other than some kind of Kyrie Irving thing, like you said, there's just not a lot here. And the Rockets are, one, they're in no obligation to actually trade you if they don't feel like it. But again, if you're going to like sit out and start just, throwing chairs in the office and throwing the basketball at the backboard all practice, you're going to have to do it. But then in that case, I'm trading you to get as much as I can, and I think that there's some teams that can work. Again, New Orleans comes to mind. But there's, to me, like they've tried to make this work around him like 2 or 3 times, and it hasn't worked for whatever reason. And now he's trying to then again pull the card. Well, you didn't do enough for me. I went out. Like, I don't know. It's a hard situation, but again, the front office still kind of holds the keys in the situation to me, and they're gonna have to make the decision. But up until this point, their moves do signal they're trying to start a rebuild, and it does feel like they probably need to go ahead and just bite the bullet and do it. But again, they are under no obligation to trade him to his preferred destinations if they can't get a package they like.